So I was having a hard time trying to think about how to frame the next reading, and something popped into my mind about my own life. So I'm going to try and explain this to the best of my ability, but it's going to be a little bit personal. So when I was a little girl, I got pneumonia. I think it was about 4 years old, and it was discovered that I had what's called a ventricular septal defect. So there was some backflow on one of the valves in my heart. So every time my heart pumped, so much blood went in the direction it was supposed to, and then a certain percentage went the wrong way. And so my heart was working harder than it should have been. On top of it, I grew up in Colorado, so I was living at a higher altitude, and there's less oxygen at a higher altitude, and my heart had to work harder because of that as well. Um, so so I was always kind of skinny, and my heart was just working harder than everybody else's to keep up with what everybody, the average thing people were doing. And I got teased a lot as a child, by the other kids because I was just so skinny. I was reasonably self-conscious about my physical appearance. Um, but I was super active. And I didn't walk through the living room. I did somersaults through the living room. Cartwheels. I was just busy, 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 busy kid. And at one time I started figure skating, and I remember the cardiologist saying, "Oh yeah, oh, she can do that. That's okay." Not competitively, not competitively. And um, there was just different constraints and different no's that came in my life. And I was such a kind of like, I don't even know the word to explain how I was, but it was like, oh, the doctor said no. Oh, somebody, yeah, interesting. That's an interesting response. I'm going to go outside and play. I kept doing what I wanted to do. Um, at one point in time, I did a cartwheel in the kitchen, and my foot hit an oak table, and it shattered my foot. And so there was my figure skating career. And I remember I was about 10. I remember thinking, well, my parents couldn't afford to pay for those lessons anyway. Like, that's okay. Just kind of water off the duck's back. But what I'd like to say is that heart condition that I could have easily wished away, it's crazy. It ended up being this tremendous blessing. My lungs at one time were tested, and I'm a pretty small person, and the person doing the research on me said, "Oh, you've got the lung capacity of like a 6 foot tall guy. How'd that happen?" I'm like, I was living at sea level at the time. I did altitude, and I was really active. Oh yeah, and I have this heart condition. So my lungs just had to work harder, and then more recently, I had some testing done, and the person who did the echocardiogram on me, like, what did you do? Your heart is just super strong. You've got a athlete's heart, blah, blah, blah. There's other problems going on there. But I like to say all that to say, that heart defect at a young age really forced my heart to work a lot harder all my life, and it caused some physiological changes in my body in a very positive regard, and I would not be able to do the things that I do currently had I not had that defect in my heart. We don't know, our greatest blessings are often our trials. It's stunning. It's just, I wish, I'd have to write a book to expound on what I know about this subject. But I would say so often, we want to wiggle out from under, we want to get away from, we want to escape or whatever. Um, the thorn in our side, some profound challenges that are there for the building of our character and the making of our souls. So here we go, May 1st. Happy May Day. At a recent Al-Anon meeting, we were asked to fill in the blank in this statement. And here's a quote: "If only blank would happen, I would be happy," unquote. Many of us were tempted to answer that we would be happy if our loved ones got sober or handled sobriety differently. But other if onlys also kept us feeling deprived. If only my boss, family, job, government, finances would change in the way that I want, I would be happy. It became clear that many of us have put our happiness on hold for things beyond our control. So we applied the first step and admitted that we were powerless over these people, places, and things. The if onlys made our lives unmanageable. But a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, and many of us decided to surrender our if onlys to a higher power. And when we did, we stopped acting like victims, waiting for things to change. We choose to take a more active role in seeking happiness in the here and now. Today's reminder: there are many areas in my life that I cannot change. What I can change is my attitude. Today, I can accept my life as it is. I can be grateful and happy here and now with what I have. Here's the quote: "Life holds so much to be happy about, always. Most people ask for happiness on condition. Happiness can be felt only if you don't set conditions." And the quote is Arthur Rubinstein. As I was reading this, I would say there was one other kind of side effect of having that heart condition. Because I was so skinny and because I was teased so much, I actually came to this place where I really didn't care what I look like. I was completely content with my physical appearance at a very, very young age. And for, I think, a female, that was truly emancipating, never wore makeup, none of the posturing, none of, like, hours and hours and hours. I think most women spend an entire year of their life doing their hair and their makeup. Nope, haven't lost my life to any of that. And so that was another truly, truly important blessing that came out of something that seemed to be quite negative. So I pray you consider that there's way more to what's going on in your life than you think what's going on in your life. I just consider that. Consider that thought, that our trials are our blessings in disguise, and we are to embrace them and be transformed. Blessings on you.